Let's learn some advanced C2 nouns to help you supercharge your vocabulary and be a little more precise when you're having a conversation. Now, building your vocabulary, it's not always easy. It requires a lot of time and perseverance. And I want to start with that noun that I just mentioned, perseverance. This refers to a continued effort to do or achieve something even when it is difficult or takes a long time. And this has a positive connotation. It's a good thing. Often you may use this when talking about things that are hard to do. As you know, learning a language takes a lot of time and energy, and you need perseverance.
I said creative writing is hard.
Oh, yeah. Perseverance, Steve. It's all about perseverance.
For pronunciation, this word has 4 syllables, and the stress is on that third syllable, perseverance. And the second and fourth syllable have that unstressed schwa sound, sounds like perseverance. And it's good to practice these words because sometimes people tend to avoid these longer words because they're a bit more difficult to pronounce. Perseverance. And if you are someone who likes to learn new words and phrases, please subscribe to the channel. It shows perseverance, and that way I can become your teacher. My name is Wes. The channel is Interactive English. It's all about trying to help you reach your fluency goals. And as we go through the lesson, I'm going to tell you the meaning of each word. I'll talk a little bit about how it's used in context, and I'll go over the pronunciation so you can say them just like a native speaker. And the next noun that I have for you is one that I really like, and that is workaholic. This noun refers to a person who works a lot and actually finds it difficult not to work. And you may be able to relate to this noun. I don't really think that I'm a workaholic, even though sometimes I feel like I work a little too much and I'm constantly thinking about new lessons. But what I really wanted to point out with this word is that suffix, the HOLIC at the end of the word, because this suffix means that you are addicted to something. I'm sure that you may be familiar with the word alcoholic. In this case, a workaholic, it's like you're saying that someone is addicted to work. And this is a fun way to play around with the language because maybe you like to go shopping. Are you a shopaholic? Do you read a lot? Maybe you're a bookaholic. I drink a lot of milk, so someone might say I'm a milkaholic. But let's not forget the reason why we're talking about this suffix is for all of you who love to work, you may be a workaholic.
This is your wedding weekend. Ooh, I'm marrying a real workaholic. You do know that.
Yeah, but isn't that what you want in a partner?
Homie, workaholic is probably your best aholic ever, but you need to relax.
The pronunciation, it's not too difficult. There are 4 syllables and the stress is on that third syllable, workaholic. But let me let you in on a little secret. It's a syllable stress rule because when a word ends in IC, the stress is often going to be on the second to last syllable. It's a good little rule to keep in mind so that you can easily pronounce words like workaholic. Now, when it comes to practicing English, I'm confident that you demonstrate perseverance. Perhaps you're a workaholic. And that's why I want to take a quick moment to tell you about ELSA Speak, which is a great app for practicing and improving your skills. And they're also the sponsor of today's lesson. With this useful app, you can fine-tune your pronunciation and practice speaking. And I want to show you some of the amazing features when you join ELSA Premium, because now you can have a full-on conversation using their AI feature.
Welcome to ELSA AI. Please select one of the following role plays.
And you can even create your own scenario. I want to have a conversation with a colleague at work about an important presentation that I'm supposed to give, and I'm feeling a little nervous.
I heard you're giving a presentation today. How are you feeling?
To be honest, I'm feeling a bit nervous.
Is there anything specific that's worrying you?
I feel like I know the material, but I'm worried that when I get up there and start presenting, I might freeze and just forget what I'm talking about.
Have you thought about practicing your presentation in front of a mirror or with a friend?
I haven't given the presentation in front of an audience yet. Do you mind if I practice in front of you?
Of course, I'll be happy to give you feedback on the clarity of your presentation.
I'm gonna go get my stuff and I'll be back in 30 minutes and you can listen to the presentation.
I'll be here when you're ready.
Roleplay completed. We are computing your feedback.
And then after the role play, you get a full assessment of your conversation, giving you in-depth feedback when it comes to pronunciation, vocabulary, and grammar. Another cool feature is ELSA Speech Analyzer, which you can use from your desktop and get immediate feedback whenever you have a meeting or give a presentation or practice for an exam like the IELTS. There's just so much to help you improve. So join ELSA Premium today by clicking on the link down below in the description, and you can get a 30% discount on a 1-year membership. And if you already have a pro membership, you can upgrade with the new ELSA Conversation Bundle. Once again, check out my special link in the description to get an ELSA Premium membership so you can improve your speaking fluency by leaps and bounds. Let's continue with more advanced C2 nouns, and the next word that I have for you is hierarchy. This is a system or organization in which people or things are arranged according to importance. And this is a word that we can actually visualize using a chart. So think about a company. It has a hierarchy. Who's at the top, the most important position? Well, that would be the CEO. And then according to this chart, below the CEO, we have the marketing manager and the IT manager. And then there are people below them. So this is a chart detailing the company's hierarchy. To give you a better idea as to how this word is used in context, let's look at some news headlines. Is organizational hierarchy getting in the way of innovation? Support for legacy admissions is rooted in racial hierarchy. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, examples and explanation. And his hierarchy of needs describes different levels of the human experience. It's very interesting stuff, but you know what else is interesting? That's the pronunciation of this noun, because it's another long word. Hierarchy. There are 4 syllables. The stress is on that first syllable. And the second syllable, you do hear that schwa sound. Hierarchy. It's a little easier when we slow it down. Hierarchy. And then we can speed it up. Say it with me. Hierarchy. Excellent. The next word, bias. This is when you support or oppose someone or something in an unfair way because you are influenced by your personal opinions. And there are some useful collocations with this noun. You could have a bias towards or against someone or something, and then there are some adjective noun collocations like having a strong bias or an unconscious bias, stereotypes that you're unaware of. Or you may hear somebody talk about confirmation bias, when you seek out information to support the views you already have.
I'm getting a little tired of this bias against the leaders of our industry.
I thought I had an awareness to issues, ways of living, unconscious bias, like all of it.
And your country owes you a debt of gratitude, Dr. Ryan, but even you can agree that a confirmation bias is a dangerous thing.
When pronouncing this word, it's pretty simple and straightforward. There are 2 syllables. The stress is on that first syllable, bias. Then we have the word scrutiny. This is the careful and detailed examination of something in order to get more information about it. And there's a useful phrase, which is to come under scrutiny. And then you can use this phrase with some common adjective noun collocations and say that something comes under close scrutiny, or it comes under intense scrutiny, or additional scrutiny, or constant scrutiny. There are quite a few collocations with this noun, and they're all great to know. For pronunciation, the stress is on the first syllable, scrutiny. But I want to take a moment to talk to you about the glottal T versus a true T, because if you listen to some online dictionaries, you may hear this.
Scrutiny.
And you hear the true T. But I'm from the US, and with the American accent, when the T is followed by an N sound, people may pronounce it with a glottal T, and the sound comes from the throat. Your vocal cords are closing, and that's stopping the flow of air. So when you hear me say words like mountain, certain, scrutiny, you hear that glottal T, scrutiny. Just listen for it.
Now, Dutton's office is under intense scrutiny for its use of force in multiple gun battles.
If your customers come under scrutiny, Apollonia,
Your business comes under scrutiny.
The next word is concession. This is when something is allowed or given up in order to end a disagreement. So if we disagree on something and we need to come to a compromise, you may make a concession, and I may also have to make a concession. And that is a common collocation with this noun, to make a concession.
I understand that you like things a certain way, and I'm willing to make some concessions, but you have to be open to compromise.
She's right, that's reasonable.
But surely those rules changed the moment they invited television into the coronation.
That was their right, and a huge concession.
To what?
Popular interest.
I am aware that I will have to make some concessions.
Concessions?
Yes, concessions.
When pronouncing this noun, there are 3 syllables and the stress is on that second syllable, concession. And another syllable stress rule for you is that when a word ends in sion, the stress is going to come on the syllable before it. So that second to last syllable, concession. Another good rule to keep in mind. Next is the noun remorse. This is a feeling of sadness and being sorry for something you have done. And there are some useful phrases with this noun. To feel remorse for something, or to feel no remorse for something, or to be filled with remorse. So let me show you some examples, some funny memes when someone might feel remorse. So you might feel remorse when those were the droids you were looking for. You might feel remorse when you feel guilty for not studying and you are still not studying. You might feel remorse when you buy a new phone just before they announce an upgraded model. When pronouncing this noun, there are 2 syllables and the stress is on that second syllable, remorse. Keep in mind that the first syllable is not stressed. Sometimes I hear people stress the first syllable and I hear that long E sound like re instead of a r. Remorse. I'm sure you will feel no remorse when you learn how to pronounce all these nouns perfectly. The next word is snob. I like this word even though it has a bit of a negative connotation and it also has a couple of different meanings. So the first one refers to a person who likes or respects only other people of a high social class. Now, it's a little antiquated, but you may still hear it from time to time. And if someone's a snob, it's like they just feel they're better than other people.
Your family would never forgive you.
Maybe not. They're snobs.
They're such snobs.
Your understanding of politics is limited to who won the election on Sesame Street. Can you believe the snob?
It also refers to a person who has extremely high standards and is not satisfied with things that ordinary people like. And you may hear this noun being used with an adjective when talking about food or drink, but not always. And it does still have a negative connotation, even though you could use it playfully if you say that someone is a coffee snob, or a wine snob, or a pizza snob, or even an art snob. For this person, it must be the finest quality, and then you could say that they are a snob.
Wow, lattes.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a coffee snob. Now, the key to a perfect latte is in the temperature of the steamed milk.
I'm going to unveil the Duchess and watch every art world snob in town drool all over her.
For pronunciation, it's pretty simple and straightforward, just the 1 syllable, snob. Try not to be a snob unless you are an English lesson snob and you only want the highest quality lessons, then yeah, you're in the right place. Then we have the word exile. This refers to someone who has to leave their home country and go live in another country, often for political reasons. And there are some useful phrases with this noun. You could say someone goes into exile or someone is in exile. After the overthrow of the government, the former president went into exile. Or currently, the deposed leaders are living in exile in the neighboring country. To go into exile or to be in exile.
Into exile. I must go. Failed, I have.
Do you know the meaning of that word? Refugee. Driven from my home, in exile.
One who could reclaim the throne of Gondor.
He turned from that path a long time ago. He has chosen exile.
This noun has 2 syllables and the stress is on that first syllable, exile. I will never make you leave this channel and go into exile. In fact, I want the opposite. I want you to stay. I want to keep you here. Then we have the word narrative. This is a word that I think is becoming more commonly used. It refers to a story or a particular way of explaining or understanding events. But let's talk about how this word is used, because even though it's basically a synonym for the word story, it's not really used interchangeably. I could say my friend likes to read love stories. I'm not really going to say my friend likes to read love narratives. These days, this word is used when talking about the story or the events that they would like others to believe, and that is their narrative. Let me give you the interactive English narrative. So I think that this is the best channel to build your vocabulary and reach your fluency goals. I say that in practically every lesson. That is the narrative that I would like you to believe. Let me show you some more news headlines so you can see how this word is used in context. New January 6 videos praised by Republicans. Narrative has crumbled. Notre Dame offense still has time to change the narrative. And stocks holding majority of recent gains fuels bullish narrative. For pronunciation, there are 3 syllables and the stress is on that first syllable, narrative. Now, when you hear me say the word, I am going to pronounce that final T as a flap T. It's going to sound like a soft D. This is common with the American accent when the T comes between 2 vowel sounds. Narrative. You hear that soft D. Narrative. Then we have the word xenophobia. This refers to an extreme dislike or fear of foreigners, their customs, their traditions, their religion. And it's a word that may often be used as an adjective as well, xenophobic. But with this word, I want to highlight another suffix, this time phobia. It comes from the Greek word phobos, meaning fear. So whenever you see or hear phobia at the end of a word, you know it's referring to the fear of something. Arachnophobia is the fear of spiders. Claustrophobia is the fear of being confined in a small space. Glossophobia is the fear of public speaking. And this is one that I didn't know before this lesson, so I'm learning new words each and every day. So there are many different words describing different fears using phobia, but the noun that I want you to remember is xenophobia. And when pronouncing this noun, it can be a little challenging. It's a longer word, and the spelling and the pronunciation don't really match up. The word has 5 syllables, and the stress is on the 3rd syllable, xenophobia. Now, there are 2 accepted pronunciations for this noun. You could say xenophobia, like I've been saying, or xenophobia. Either one is okay. Both are accepted. The only difference is that short E or long E in the first syllable. Xenophobia versus xenophobia. The other thing I want you to keep in mind is, of course, that X at the beginning of the noun, it has a Z sound, xenophobia. Then we have the word influx. This means the arrival of a lot of people or things at the same time. And often you're going to follow this noun with the preposition of, an influx of something. The town experienced an influx of tourists this summer. Or the business needs an influx of money or it may not survive. When pronouncing this word, there are 2 syllables. The stress is on that first syllable. But one thing I want to say is that this noun will generally follow an article, either the or an. And if we have the phrase, an influx of, then linking may occur. And linking is when we connect the final consonant sound of one word with the beginning vowel sound of the next word. So it's going to sound like an influx of. An influx of. Just listen for it.
Wendy has identified a casino and hotel in northwest Missouri that needs an influx of cash to survive.
One day, Carl, an influx of hormones that we can't control will overpower our better judgment and drive us to pursue the female species against our will.
And now for a little review. I think it is great that you want to build your vocabulary, but I want to remind you that you will need perseverance. Because to be honest, it can be difficult to find the time. You may have to make some concessions in order to reach your fluency goals. And I know some people may be thinking, look, Do I really need to become a vocabulary snob and learn all these advanced words? Is my English really going to come under intense scrutiny? Probably not. It's entirely up to you. But personally, and I know that I have a bias, I think it's worth it to have a robust vocabulary. I think it's going to help you both personally and professionally. At least that's the narrative that I am trying to tell. So I should really wrap things up and get going, but don't worry, I'm not going to go into exile. I will be back soon with another lesson. What can I say? I'm a workaholic. But if you enjoyed this lesson and learned something new, please hit that like button. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. So long.